Hello and welcome to Constitution Connections. This is a program brought to you by the Bush Education Team at the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum. We're happy to have you with us today. So here's what we're going to do. This program is a good review for knowledge of the Constitution, the government, and the life and legacy of President Bush. So the first thing we're going to start off with today is just a quick overview of President Bush himself. So President Bush wore many hats in his life, all in the name of service. First, he was a pilot for the Navy in World War II. Then he went to Yale and got his degree in economics. He moved to Texas with Mrs. Barbara Bush and went into the oil industry. After that, he served in the Texas Congress, moving on to becoming a congressman at the federal level. He also acted as the ambassador for the UN. For 1 year, he was the director of the CIA. He was President Reagan's vice president. Then he later went on to become the 41st president of the United States. So this page right here just has an example of some of the highlights of his career of public service. However, that is not the only thing we are reviewing today. To prepare for the game that we're playing today, let's go ahead and review the 3 branches of government as well. So the first branch we'll talk about is the legislative branch. All right, go ahead and tell the screen, what does the legislative branch do? If you are saying that they make bills into laws, you are correct. A great example of the legislative branch is the House of Representatives and the Senate. These are 2 different chambers of the Congress. The next branch we're going to talk about is the executive branch. So one person usually comes to mind when we think of the executive branch. Who do we usually think of when we think of the executive branch? If you're saying the President of the United States, you are correct. So the executive branch leader is the President. They are the commander-in-chief of the military, and they're the ones who carry out the laws in many ways. Lastly, we have the judicial branch. What does the judicial branch do? Excellent. So they are in charge of the courts of our land. So one really big example of that is the Supreme Court. They are held up as the head of the judiciary branch, but the judicial also covers just any legal court system. So these 3 branches are meant to balance each other out and take care of different aspects of the government. So again, that was the legislative, who makes the laws, the executive, which carries out the laws, and the judicial, which judges the laws, or how people are responding to them, and if people are breaking them, things like that. They also interpret the law. So today we are going to be playing a game together. So we will be playing what is known as our Constitution Connections board game. Today I'm going to lead us in playing it, but you are more than welcome to download it as well and play it at your leisure. So here's how it's going to go. Today, you and I will be playing with Sully as our place marker. Sully was President Bush's service dog. Sully is a beautiful dog who is still very much alive and now works at a hospital. So the game board looks like this. All right, let me show you Sully. So that's Sully, our wonderful dog who is going to take us through this game. So what's going to happen is this. We're going to roll a die together, and then we're going to move along the game board, okay? And depending on what color we land on, a footprint, we are going to draw the appropriate card and answer the question, okay? Let's do this. So it looks like we have rolled a 3. So let's go ahead. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we are on the green footprint, which is Goals and principles of the Constitution. Ooh, I think we're ready for this. Are you ready to see it? Ollie Ollie Oxenfree. Goals and principles of the Constitution drawn. All right, here is our question. The constitutional principle of checks and balances is A. The system where each branch of government checks the power of the other branches, or B. Rule by the people. The government is created by the people for the people. Okay, so we're looking for checks and balances. Let's go ahead and highlight something here. Where's my pen? I like green. If you have seen some of my other videos, you're going to find I really like green. All right, so I see the word here, checks. Where else do I see the word checks? Aha, okay. So hopefully you're pointing with your finger and you're saying, A, A, A. I see the word checks in answer A. That would be correct. So we have the system of government where each branch of government checks the power. So checks here, and we have checks and balances here. Okay, let's see. B does not have the word check. Now that's not necessarily enough to say the answer is A. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what we know. We have how many branches of government? Do you remember? Good. We have 3 branches of government, and they all take care of a different aspect of government: making laws, enforcing laws, and judging laws. So if we're looking at B, we're talking about rule. Okay? But that is just one aspect of government. That's one ideal. So I'm going to say that the answer is going to be A, okay? Because when you have the power divided between 3 different branches, the judicial, the executive, and the legislative, and they're each doing something a little bit different, they can balance each other out because they each have different strengths and weaknesses, much like a team does. So they're able to, check each other, be like, hold up, wait a minute, let me do this, you do that. And we'll just balance each other out. So I'm going to go ahead and say the answer is A. Let's see if we're right. Okay, we are right. So that means we get to hold our new spot on the board. Very good. Okay, so next is going to be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alrighty. We're on yellow. So this question is going to be about the legislative branch. Okay, the legislative branch. Let's draw it. What a pretty yellow. Take a moment, prep your mind. Ready for the question? The job of the legislative branch is to A. Make laws. B. Train the army. Okay. The job of the legislative branch is to A. Make laws. B. Train the army. All right, let's find out. It is A. Make laws. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you said B, train the army, I just want you to take a moment and I want you to repeat the correct answer 3 times. So the job of the legislative branch is to make laws, make laws, make laws. Okay? And that's just how we're going to handle it if we get the answer wrong. So the legislative branch is to make laws. So now we are ready for the next roll of the dice. Let's see where we're going to end up. 3. Okay, let's get that dice out of our way. Bye-bye, dice. 1, 2, 3. So we are on the white footstep. So that puts us with President George H.W. Bush, family and facts. Let's ready your minds. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Let's draw that card. We got this. Wow, what a big family. That's impressive. Okay. What is the name of George H.W. Bush's wife? A. Millie or B. Barbara? What is the name of George H.W. Bush's wife? A. Millie, B. Barbara. Okay, so the answer is going to be B. Barbara. So Millie is actually the name of Barbara Bush's dog, and Millie wrote a book called Millie's Book. And it is a very popular book that actually funded a whole literacy foundation. So that is pretty cool. Looks like we are ready for the next question. So drum roll, please. And dice. Okay, so that is a 5. Dice out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we have landed on another white footprint. So that is going to give us President George H.W. Bush, family and facts. Let's do this. We can do this. What is the name of President George H.W. Bush's first child, who later became President of the United States? A. George Washington or B. George W. Bush? What is the name of President George H.W. Bush's first child, who later became President of the United States? A. George Washington or B. George W. Bush? Feel free to use some context clues here to help you figure it out. Okay, if your answer was B. George W. Bush, you are correct. Remember, if you get any of these questions wrong, just pause the video for a moment and repeat the correct answer 3 times. So George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush were father and son. The only other presidents that were father and son were John Adams and John Quincy Adams. We are ready for the next one. Let's play on. Okay, so that means we get to roll our dice again. Yay! Let's do this. 1. We get to move 1 spot. 1. That gives us an executive branch card. Let's just remember real quick, between our 3 branches, we have the legislative branch, which makes the laws, the judicial branch, which judges the laws in court, and the executive branch, the office of the president. Let's see what this one gives us. The president serves as blank in the military during his time in office. Okay? The president serves as blank in the military during his time in office. A. Vice President or B. Commander-in-Chief? Is the answer A. Vice President or B. Commander-in-Chief? I'm going to give you guys a minute. If you guys answered B, Commander-in-Chief of the military, you are correct. So let's go ahead and look at some of the clues that could lead us towards this answer. And that would be, we're looking at the president, okay? So if you are president, are you also a vice president? No. Someone else acts as vice president. You always want to have a president and a vice president be two different people. Okay, so then process of elimination, the only other answer here is commander-in-chief. So the president serves as commander-in-chief in the military during his time in office. Now, this power is actually granted to the president by the United States Constitution. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So here we are back at the game board, and we are currently on the red footprint. Let's see what the dice has for us next in store. And we have a 1. That's going to move us to yellow. So that means we're going to be drawing from the legislative branch. Very good. Okay. So legislative. And the question is this. Before a law is passed, it must be introduced in Congress. What is it called when it is introduced in Congress? All right, I'm going to read that question again. Before a law is passed, it must be introduced in Congress. What is it called when it is introduced in Congress? Your choices are A, a great suggestion, or B, a bill. Your choices are A, a great suggestion, or B, a bill. Take a minute, figure it out. Okay, you guys ready? I'm going to show you the answer. Let's find out together. And the answer is B, a bill. When a law is introduced, it is called a bill. So after the bill is passed by Congress, it is then sent to the president, where he or she signs it into law. Or they can choose not to sign it, or may veto it to reject it. Okay, next one. So we are now going from yellow to, let's see what the roll of dice tells us. All right, 3. So we're going to 1, 2, 3. Oh, and we are landing on President George H.W. Bush, family and facts. All right, there's the family again, and I think we're ready for the question. We can do this. Is this true or false? George H.W. Bush fought in the Vietnam War. True or false? George H.W. Bush fought in the Vietnam War. Just going to remind you guys, he was a Navy pilot. But in which war? All right, I'm going to show you guys the answer. You ready? And the answer is false. So while George H.W. Bush did fight in a war, it was not the Vietnam War. By then, he was actually a congressman. So he fought in World War II. So he was in high school about the time that Pearl Harbor was attacked. And so as soon as he graduated, he enlisted into the Navy because he wanted to serve his country. It is true that he did serve in war. It was just World War II instead. Okay, next one. Let's roll that dice, and we have 2, 1, 2. Okay, we are on yellow. That puts us back in our legislative branch, which again is the lawmaking branch. Okay, so here's the legislative branch, and let's see our question. Based on the picture, what was George H.W. Bush elected to in 1966? So based on the picture, what was George H.W. Bush elected to in 1966? It even says look carefully. So your options are going to be A, Congress, or B, Supreme Court. Your options will be A, Congress, or B, Supreme Court. Going to give you guys a minute. And let's look at the answer. And the answer is A, Congress. So if we look closely at this image right back here, we see it says, elect George Bush to Congress. Okay, very good observation, y'all. So I think that means we're ready for the next one. Okay, let's roll that dice. And that is a 5. So get the dice out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's going to be goals and principles of the Constitution. The preamble of the U.S. Constitution is the A, Introduction, or B, Explanation of Separation of Powers. I'm going to read that again. The preamble of the U.S. Constitution is the A, Introduction, or B, Explanation of Separation of Powers. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a minute. So before I reveal the answer, I'm going to go over something real quick. When we look at the word preamble, this word right here, this is our important word. So if we break down this word into pre and then amble, pre means to come before. Amble is actually like a slower, leisurely walk if you're considering these different words. But when they're combined, they become an explanation that comes before. That's kind of what it translates into. So an explanation that comes before. So in B, we do have explanation, but it's of something specific, of separation of powers. Now, that is one aspect of the Constitution. However, it doesn't introduce the idea of the Constitution. It's not coming before the rest of the Constitution. So we want something that's coming before, and what usually becomes before a big speech or a ceremony or a long block of text is actually the introduction. An introduction comes before everything else. So let's see. The answer is introduction. Good job if you got that one correct. If you guys need to repeat this one 3 times as part of your correction, that is perfectly good too. Please take a moment to do that. In fact, I will do it with you. The preamble is the introduction. The preamble is the introduction. The preamble is the introduction. Okay, I think we're ready for the next one. So let's get that dice rolling. And it's the 1. Get that dice out of the way. And here's our 1. Okay, we're on blue. Guys. It is the judicial branch. Our first one. Okay, so if you remember again, the legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch enforces the laws, or executes them rather. And the judicial branch judges them. Okay, let's see what question it has for us. Which of the following is the best explanation of the word laws? Which of the following is the best explanation of the word laws? So we're defining the word laws. Okay, so here are your choices. A, things people do when they go swimming. Or B, rules people must follow. Again, for the best explanation for the word laws, we have A, things people do when they go swimming, or B, rules people must follow. Give you guys a minute. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the answer. You ready? And the answer is B. Rules people must follow. Very good. Okay, next one. And it's going to be 4. Get the dice out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're back to goals and principles of the Constitution. The goal of the Constitution of ensuring domestic tranquility means A. Maintaining peace at home, or B. Guaranteeing economic growth around the world. So again, the question is, the goal of the Constitution of ensuring domestic tranquility means A. Maintaining peace at home, or B. Guaranteeing economic growth around the world. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a moment. Let's go over this one together before we reveal the answer. So the word domestic means to be of home. So let's see which word that matches to. Does it match to the word world or home? So domestic means to be at home. It's taking place in the home. So domestic, home. And then tranquility is really just another word for peace. So we're going to say tranquility matches with peace. Economics has to do with business. So it's not going to be that one. A matches domestic to home and tranquility to peace. Let's go ahead and say the answer is A. So the goal of the Constitution of ensuring domestic tranquility means A. Maintaining peace at home. All right, next one, y'all. We got this. Get that dice, and it's going to be 5. So count it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's another Constitution question. You guys ready for this one? I do believe so. We're just trucking along. We're almost to the end. We totally got this. Let's see. The term consent of the governed means. This one is super important, y'all. The term consent of the governed means A. Government gets its permission to rule/govern from the people. Or B. Each state decides on what laws they should follow. I'm going to read that all again. The term consent of the governed, in fact, let's underline that one, consent, that's the type of permission, of the governed means A. Government gets its permission to rule/govern from the people. Or B. Each state decides on what laws they should follow. Give you guys a moment. All right, let's go over this one together. So consent means permission. So let's see where we can match that. So we can match consent to permission. So that's pretty darn important. Okay, so of the governed. So who is being governed in this case? Well, in our country, it's the people, really. I mean, when you're governing something, you're governing the people. So which answer has the word people in it? This one right here. So we can match governed to people because they're the ones giving this consent. Now, a state can do the governing, but again, it is the people being governed, okay? So the state can act upon the people as well, but a state governs rather than is governed. Okay, so it's probably not going to be B. That one pretty much rules that out. So let's go ahead and say the answer is A. That is correct. So the consent of the governed means government gets its permission to rule/govern from the people. Okay, next one. Next one is 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, that gives us an executive branch question. Again, that is the branch of government that does what? Okay, I think we're ready for the question. George H.W. Bush served 1 term as president. How long is 1 term for the President of the United States? How long is 1 term for the President of the United States? A, 2 years, or B, 4 years? Okay, so the answer is going to be B, 4 years. So this is actually determined by the Constitution. A senator has a term that lasts 6 years, and a congressperson of the House of Representatives has a 2-year term. Okay, and the president has a 4-year term. So everything overlaps, which is pretty neat. So this year, 2020, is an election year for the President of the United States. And this is going to occur every 4 years. Let's see. And that's 2 for us, so we are done. Sully has made it through. Good job, guys. Thank you for sticking it out with me. Oh my goodness, you guys did such a good job. Whew, okay. Just yes. Let us move on to see what comes next. What surprise have we in store here? Okay. So it looks like now that we have finished up our game board, it's just a quick little wrap-up activity. So here's what you're going to do. You can do this in your head, or you can take a piece of paper and a pencil, and let us go over some pillars to live by before we bring our program to a close. So these pillars to live by are ideals from the life and actions of President Bush that we can learn from. So the first one is a lifetime of service. So if we look back on President Bush's life, he dedicated his life to public service. He was a soldier. He served in our government in various positions. Even after he was president, he was involved in many charities. He just truly believed that it was important to give back and serve our country. So there are numerous examples right here within images and in the text of a lifetime of service. Another pillar to live by is putting people first in decision making. So an example of that is when Congressman George Bush visits with soldiers during his trip to Southeast Asia. President Bush, then Congressman Bush, had himself been in war. He'd seen losses, he'd seen battle, he knew the heartache of it. He took it extremely seriously. So anytime that he had to involve Americans in war, such as Desert Storm, or even back when he was a congressman with Vietnam, those decisions weighed heavy on him. And he tried to think about the positions he was putting the soldiers in before he made his decisions, especially as president. The third pillar to live by is building relationships to better the world. In this case, we have a great example in President Bush. He was the ambassador to the United Nations, as well as, at one point, U.S. liaison to China. He talked with people. He built relationships. And he brought those good relationships with other countries over with him when he became president. Please take a moment to look through these pillars to live by. matching actions to the category you feel it fits best with. After you do that, think of actions that you can take or have taken that fits in the lifetime of service, putting people first in decision making, or building relationships to better the world pillars. Please pause the video here and press play when you are ready to continue. And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we covered President Bush and his legacy, the Constitution, and aspects of the 3 branches of government. To download the Constitution Connections packet, please go to bush41.org. If you have any questions, please contact us at bush.education@nara.gov. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a lovely day.